Boom. Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are very grateful to have a wonderful guest inside of the Bear Cave this evening for you. I'm looking forward to going down this interesting rabbit hole with a friend and what I continue to feel as the ever-growing Bear family. Matthew Silver, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing this evening, my dear brother?
I'm doing great.
It's the fart.
What?
It's the fart.
The fart is always, you know, the beginning and the end. It's like a beginning-end kind of awakening.
In the book of fart, you have the alpha and omega of, and that fart encompasses.
Right. The fart is like a portal. A portal is like the opening, and that's the beginning and the ending. The alpha omega. Yes, correct. So I want to get into a little bit about. I love asking questions. You've always been an interesting character. In my mind, I have had the pleasure of growing through the internet and studying some of the other creators, people that are interested in sharing ideas and communicating that value. And you're one of the first people I ran into some of the early days. So I think what I was always interested in is that there's place for everybody in the world of expression and creation. And when we're more who we are, all these amazing things can happen. And I really like that about, I don't want to call it your character because it's you. It's not, I mean, we can embellish the story to any degree. It's good to embellish the story if you're going to write it and help share the idea. So tell me how this all came about for you. That's a pretty long question, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you just have many instances in your life where there's an epiphany and I guess one epiphany was in high school. I danced in front of the girls during gym intersession because guys were offering, hey, flex in front of the girls and act silly, we'll give you some quarters or whatever. And the money was just an excuse because I wanted to always do this stuff all the time. And I finally got my excuse because I was still very scared in high school. But I did it, and everybody in the high school gym loved it. They loved me. They loved that I was acting weird, you know? And that was my little baby claim to my soul that liked to act silly. So I guess that it all started there. But the problem was I was still a little scared. Well, I'm just going to say the word little scared bitch or pussy. But
you were scared. I can relate to this.
I was really scared, but I don't want to... Shit. Well, move forward. And I was scared even when I was 20. And then I was 25. I was always scared. And then I found film, and I just made short films. And I hid behind the camera. The camera, you didn't have to do it in front of a person. You do it in front of the camera. And then you show it to people later, you know, and then you looked really cool. And I was making short movies. But it wasn't enough. I wanted the real engagement with people, interaction. And I started to realize like the drawback of film is you don't really have that interaction when you perform on stage or in public or in front of people on the street. It's happening now. And in movies, it's all filmed, edited, you know, it make it look good, and it's happening in another distorted reality where you don't get the immediate engagement. And that's what I wanted as a human. I wanted the immediate interaction. And then as I guess as I smoked a little weed, I got more, weed connected me more with my heart. I wanted to go even wackier, you know. And I started to come up with these weird ideas about, well, what if I make the entire world fart at the same time? What if but it wasn't my idea. It was ideas that were already It wasn't just weed though. It was already in there, but you know, kind of weed sparked some fire that was already in there because I still wanted to do it after I was nuts.
A giant fart might spark some flame. That's true.
Exactly. I mean, some people would say a fart is a bad idea because it hurts the ozone layer, but I'm talking about a metaphorical fart, like I was saying. The fart is the awakening. It goes through a portal. The portal is open. It's the omega. It's the alpha. Fart is also. It also rhymes with art and heart, right? So, you know, like heart, and if you do what you love, you're kind of embarrassed, like a fart, you know? It's like, oh, I did something I love. Oh, look at this, please. Look, you know, look at me. You feel shy, you know? You feel vulnerable. You feel vulnerable right after a fart, you know? And the whole fart metaphor is, do it, you know, keep farting, you know, let loose. Don't stay stuck in your little box and watch videos of other people doing it all the time. I mean, get inspired by them, get inspired by you, me, everybody, and then do you. If you're not doing you, the whole thing, you know, it is this journey of me doing me, and you know, me, hopefully by me doing me, it's opening a portal for others to be themselves and do it, even if they're gonna fail. Like 2014, I had my big first success. But I mean, I did it for 2004. I started 2005. So let's just say from 2005, 2014, I failed continuously, but I would keep going out there, you know, and I said, something's gonna happen, something's gonna happen. And you know, I got a big cloud, 2014. I got another, you know, another awesome thing to happen in 2015 and then 2017. But now I'm like a failure again. 2018, nothing. 2019, I'm a complete failure. I'm not, you know, but that's all, you know, that's all in your head. That's all in your head. And by going out there and failing, I mean, most of life is failure. You're a fucking failure.
I know I am. And I agree. I actually really appreciate the sentiments of failure, because I often believe that most of the time what people won't do is just make those first few steps and then keep going and really try something, not for the advent of getting good at it or the dreamy manifestation of what something could be, but just to do. I mean, there's all these instruments in this room, not because I'm good at playing all of them, but because I'm interested to stumble and fail in a way that progresses the learning process. And I think often people get too caught up on trying to perfect something instead of just being and doing. And I wanted to go back to a part of something that I liked there too, was the fa heart. Because if you go C, D, E, F, do, re, mi, fa, the fa of the heart, the fa heart, it would be F, right where the heart chakra would be. If you were to pretend that it went C, D, E, F, G, anyways. Oh. Side note. And then
that's awesome, all the like connections.
So there's this type of esoteric art form, because what I like about the creation and your expression through these ideas, in the tarot you have the Fool card, right? Essentially it's the card that represents all knowing without knowing anything. Like its foley represents the universe as a whole too. The end of the tarot card of the universe has a very deep tie because it's the beginning and the end. Mm-hmm. And I've always appreciated the foley of that idea, and I think that relates quite well to this archetypical character of the jester, as I think we briefly spoke about earlier. That's of such an important piece, because that is the universe itself. It is in some way acting in foley. It's just like there's no real care to some of the way the universe seems to function. The mathematics are just raw, intense, analytical kind of breakdowns of mentality, whereas in the landscape that we live in, where it seems like there's moments of security and calmness, we can forget about all that folly and chaos that takes place in the universe. And it's profound because when you look up and remember that there's all these stars, we're on a ball of water and flame and rock and shit. I really appreciated the way that the fart embodied that type of wisdom, because it's a great way to go. I'm not very good at it. I usually like to sit somewhere, we're like right here, because I'm not very. Sometimes I'm not very articulate with trying to pose your style and your character is wild. For anyone that hasn't seen Matthew's work, I highly suggest checking it out. It's abstract art is often related to more conceptual stuff, and I've always been impressed by well, there's other people who do work similar. I think the improvisational space in general offers that connection to the immediate. When you were speaking about wanting that connection, that instantaneous stuff where it's more person to person, how do you feel the internet kind of evolved that communication of what you were trying to, or what you wanted? Has the internet changed that perspective of the immediate connections? Because like I've seen your work and that's how I recognized you. I wanted to sit down and chat. We've gotten along. Has the internet changed your viewpoint on opening it up to the it's almost like a delayed response?
Well, there you go. I mean, boom, the internet. Yeah, I mean, I think we're all victims of it now. It's not something that's, I think I'm a victim of the, because it's more like the internet. Sometimes I feel like more like the internet controls me rather than I control the internet. I get something exciting happening on the internet. I got a little, a buzz, and it kind of changed me. I started looking more on my phone for like, okay, whenever I make a new post or something, or I'm always like, if it's not a good post, I feel, I'm like everybody else. It kind of, it's like internet. You have everything there. You have the analytics. You have, numbers. You have, and however you see those, and however you add them up. And I kind of lost my, because it's like I didn't get known. I got known because of the internet. I mean, I was performing on the street many years before, the video went viral. I mean, I was always that crazy guy on the street, and then I had the crazy guy with the viral video, and then some people still think I'm crazy, right?
Well, it's interesting though, because if you're telling me that you were creating videos and doing this work anyways.
I was creating videos, and then I stopped creating videos, and I just focused on street performing.
Right. So I guess that's part of the question. Like, for instance, I feel that the internet, even though the internet has like a delayed effect, like us meeting, if I hadn't seen your work via this new medium, it wouldn't have been as easy for me to be like, okay, let's have.
We wouldn't have hanged out.
And wouldn't have been as easy, because even though I agree with you, I think that direct response, like acoustic music, anytime you can produce something that's closer to the moment of now with less thought and just more presence and being.
Well, okay, the internet, not everybody, but the internet has affected a big part of the population's neurosis. you know, there's people with OCD and other things, and then you have, you know, you become it's addictive. It's a new thing. It's like gambling. You know, gambling plays with that. So a lot of the games and social media, they make them like gambling. You know, it's just like, you know, you get excited when you get a certain number of communications or something, right? And it's kind of cooler, right? You're not really dealing with the person, but you have the illusion of that person with awesome picture, right? Maybe it's sexy picture, maybe it's I don't know, it's just a picture, and then they send you a message, but maybe they look like shit right now, and they're eating ice cream, and there's ice cream's all over their face, and they're like, "Hey, buddy," you know.
Well, I think more and more
buddy.
authenticity is what people are craving.
What more? What?
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
I think the days of like the really flashy Instagram posts and Facebook stuff is kind of faded away.
It's faded away, or it's become much more.
Well,
I see more people doing Instagram every day.
Yeah,
and then
this is it. It's evolving. The whole space is evolving.
It's evolving. I mean, there's people taking it in good direction, and people, but then you just saw that silly movie, American Meme.
Oh, yes, that was a great little documentary.
All of them were Instagram stars, and you know, then you had someone like the Fat Jew, right?
Yes.
And he, I mean, he ripped people off, and he was still you know what I mean? I don't know what point I'm going into.
No, that was a great documentary.
All those people seemed like they weren't. Like the one that seemed like who she wasn't the happiest was they were all addicted to it in some level of extension. It was an extension of themselves. And who was Paris Hilton?
Yeah.
She kept saying she has the FOMO disease. FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah, I think there's the speed at which the communications can happen at that global pace as well, which can be disorienting, right? Yeah. The ability to get caught in, I agree with you. But these are like trips, all the dopamine, the serotonin hits that you get, like, I'll attest to that as making YouTube videos myself.
Yeah. Right. But here's the thing: if you can control it and be above it, and not let it suck you in, then it's all game. It's all game. It's like, if you don't become, but if it starts controlling you, then you're.
Well, this is true of anything, and I think the highlight there is that making this sentiment is extremely important. A lot of people don't realize that these are addictive like drugs because it's triggering dopamine and serotonin channels, much like many other things we experience in life. So it's the reward system that we're getting back from it, but you could look at it as a form of capitalism, right? If you're good at it, you can capitalize on your ability to use this reward system to your benefit. Because robots can replace me for most of the things I do, like math or serving, making food or stuff. It's like just cycle and it's done. So what am I good at? I can shit talk. I was like, this is a space where I can have a job. This is why the internet has fascinated me, and this is why I always appreciated your work and others in this space in general. Whether like from PewDiePie, I didn't even realize I liked PewDiePie up until the last few years because I've been really trying to understand what other people are interested in and why they're interested in those ideas, and kind of let go of my cynicism about why it's all fucked up or something, and be like, okay, well, what's going on here? This is super cool, and it's not. I had no idea how cool it was, and even though, like in American Meme, you have the downside, right? You've got this guy that's fucking going around pouring beer or champagne on women, or like it's very derogatory to some degree. But that's that's part of our culture. It's like, it's epitaphs of the culture. I think epitaph is the right word. That's the right fucking word for this sentiment. There's gonna be a lot of like when we bleep these sections out.
Okay, yeah. So we're talking about the internet, right? Another thing I don't like about social media and stuff is the ego. It plays a little game with, it plays a game, and then a lot of times you're more focused about like what's the next post, but it's very simple-minded. And then now, like you said, if you're good at capitalism or if you're good at social media, then maybe you wouldn't be in my boat. My boat is I'm not good at capitalism. I'm not good at social media, so I'm like, fuck it. Why do people have to be good at social media or they have to be good at capitalism? What if someone doesn't want, to someone it's not fun for some, it doesn't have to be the everything of all. You could be other things. You could be a butterfly. You could be, see, because the original starting of my project was to be a clown or the jester or the village idiot, but I was going to do something that was going to. One of my strongest intentions was I'm going to shift the entire planet to love consciousness with performance, and I've read somewhere, maybe by Patch Adams, that it's very important to have a strong intention. And Patch Adams was also a very big inspiration for me. Do you know who he is?
I don't know the whole story, but I know the character reference you're making to some degree.
Well, yeah, there's that movie that was with Robin Williams, but Patch Adams himself is known for bringing clowning to hospitals, clowning to people that needed it, and he inspired me. I never did hospitals, but I just went right to the street,
Well, the street's a very unique place to perform too. I spent some time playing music on the street, and what's interesting is that you get a whole wide variety of people that don't necessarily mean to end up interacting with you. So it's a very unique platform to go into, as in comparison to like being on a stage where people know specifically that they did that experiment with this fantastically trained violin player for one of the orchestras, and he's playing in the subway. Maybe a few kids stop to listen, or some some grandparents or something. But this is like the lead chair for the Philharmonic Orchestra, and he's playing like a $2.4 million fucking violin in the subway station, but hardly anyone recognizes that talent unless you put it in a particular place. And then they pay $200, $300 a ticket to go see the same person perform when they wouldn't have stopped in their daily life. It's almost as if the platform in some way shapes the content, and that's where I agree with you about the social media aspect. Because I agree with you. Look, part of where we've gotten with technology and shit, it's so that we shouldn't have to fucking work and be capitalists. Capitalists, I think, comes from the ideas that, look, I have this really cool thing and I'm gonna have to work extra fucking hard to do it. And I think I should be rewarded for doing that. I don't think that means that you should have to fucking do that, because it's grueling work sometimes. It's not like always enjoyable and shit. And so I think that we need room for everybody to be able to play and be themselves.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking. Like, can there just be more room for the others as well? Why does everybody have to be forced to be that? No, I don't think anybody's being forced. I don't know what It feels like everybody's being forced.
It's like a wave.
It's like a wave. It's like Monsanto, right? You know Monsanto, right?
Yes, I know the company.
All right. Well, they have very evil capitalistic practices where they make this seed, right? And they grow their own genetic modified crop, and then the crop has this thing where it blows in the wind, and it accidentally, well, probably purposely, it goes into other farmers' crops. You know, it's getting blown by the wind. The farmers, they don't know what to do. They're not realizing it, but they're actually growing the corporate Monsanto's crop. And then what Monsanto does is they sue the farmers and run them out of business, because it's like they're playing a cutthroat game. That's what Monsanto has done already. So you know, it's like Monsanto is forcing everybody in the direction of genetically modified food and cutthroat capitalism. If Monsanto plays that way, then the small farmers got to play a little. You know, they gotta play in a certain way too. You know, the way one does, like, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna be a shark and get what's mine. If you do that, well, obviously that like attracts like. That there's gonna be others who, and then it's just like this vicious, all the people, the rat race. Whoever wins the rat race is still a rat, you know? Not everybody wants to be caught up in the rat race. A lot of people want to just want to chill out and be present. You know, they want to have children or a wife, you know, and a family, and just make a healthy dinner.
Yeah.
And then play a card game.
That sounds beautiful. See, I agree with you. I think that wealth and richness is commonly overlooked, and people try to pursue things that they don't. The value is not there in the depth of things. Like, so much of what's truly meaningful in life is not found from working. Like, people are aimed at the side effects of capitalism instead of the real purpose of I think to want to incentivize myself to continue to work harder, to produce something that benefits other people and can grow and change. It's like, well, and in acceptance of my own failures and others' failures and forgiveness of myself and others. When you start to go to that route in business, there are other people that operate there too, but you're right. The ladder of power doesn't have to be climbed strictly from competence. It can be climbed from ruthless, sharp, like predatory behavior. And it's always been a question for me whether, okay, well, we got to this point. Okay, so, you know, like we come back to the John Carpenter movie. Did we choose this, and are we They Live? Okay. So did we choose these moments, or are we being manipulated by some outside force, right? Because that's it. You could like
an alien subculture.
Something maybe, right? Okay, you could
an outside force, the dark government.
Let's take some conspiracy off the table. You ever heard of toxoplasmosis?
No.
Toxoplasmosis? None of those. One of those. Something. The point of that sentiment is toxoplasmosis is a parasite that cats get, and often the people that own cats get this parasite as well. And it changes the way that they think. So they will do more dangerous shit. They're more likely to die in motorcycle accidents or like jumping out of planes or something. So
I thought it would just make them love their cat more.
No, it doesn't. It makes them not afraid, because the cats actually do it to infect mice, and the mice then don't become scared of the cats. So the cats can then eat more mice and get infected by the parasite again.
Oh.
It's crazy. So this parasite is figured out in any animal. This is the crazy shit too. When Robert Sapolsky has some fantastic work in this biological area, but basically, and Steve and I had conversations about this sentiment too. Is that okay? Well, let's not think it's an alien race. Let's not even think that it might be a government control. Let's imagine that it's a parasite, like a simple parasite that just starts to remove fear, and that there's degradations in the structural of the regular human psyche, potentially, right? Because these things can focus on whether or not we think animals are scary or not. So if you had been infected with this, you could smell an animal that might scare you, or see an animal that might normally, and rightfully so, scare you, not scare you. And this is a parasite that can do this. It knows how to focus and target on the fear centers, right? And this is, I think that comes back to that relationship. It's like, okay, well, it's because some of it seems intentional, right? There seems to be a conspiracy of some kind. And I don't want to go down that pathway necessarily. That's why I thought the parasite was a really interesting analogy, because we see things like that in nature already. Are we infected, Matthew? Are we being taken over by something? What do you think?
Well, yeah, you never know, right? That's it. You never know. I mean, I'd say yes, and I'd say no at the same time, because it's, I mean, well.
So there's no virus in the code. It's just part of the way the operating system works.
It's like saying, like we were talking, it's like saying this is a computer program. It's a VR. We're in a VR, a complicated VR. So something is in charge of it, you know.
It's not, the computer code might not be infected. It could very well be like a part of the...
Yeah, even the infection is part of the game.
Yeah, it's like the firewall for the computer.
I mean, you know, the movie Matrix, there was always this idea of the glitch. But have we, on this planet, we've never experienced a glitch, like an error in the program. There's never, because there are no errors in this program. It's just, it's kind of like a program that the seeds were planted and it just let loose. It's just letting loose. It's just let it be. Let it be.
Nothing in the code is faulty. It's all the way it should be.
Yeah. But that's how sophisticated this program is. It's nothing there's nothing faulty in the code. Even when the worst things happen. It can't. It's so. The program is so infinite. I mean, it's a massive computer program. It's like, I mean, if we're talking about, you can't even comprehend it.
Yeah, that's the fun part about some of this stuff.
You're saying is there's this force controlling us. I guess it's so infinite that I don't, even when there is a force controlling us, it's not really controlling us. Something is always being controlled by something bigger than the force that's controlling us.
It would seem that way.
No, it's so infinite. It's so infinite. So let's say this is part of some virtual thing with a massive computer, and even if the programmer is controlling us, he's not really controlling us, because he's being controlled by something bigger than him. It just goes on and on and on and on. It never ends.
Infinite upon infinite and infinite layers of energy structure. So I've always been fascinated by the changeover, because I used to just enjoy living out in the jungle. I'm growing food. I just want to have a relaxed time, and I started to think that, okay, well, the technology is a wave that's here, and I can't really ignore it. For me, the best thing to try to do is just try to fucking surf the wave, because if I don't try to surf it, I might just get barreled, and it might be easier to try to get the fuck up on the wave and ride it.
That's right. You're right. Like, if you see it that way, because you might get barreled, and that's the way I feel right now. I feel I can't get on the wave. I can't get on what's current. I feel so discouraged by it, and I'm like, I don't want to look at that radioactive screen anymore. I don't want to look at the radioactive negative ion, positive ion computer screen. I don't like this idea. I just don't feel normal. I feel like I'm getting a dose of cancer. Someone said, "Oh, it's a cancer buffet out here. Take your pick," you know? I want to touch the plants, the living, you know, but lo and behold, you have all these interesting scientific facts about the sun actually giving us more. What was it?
Oh yeah, UVC.
UVC. So I mean, does it really fucking matter if you're
might not be able to
cancer
escape
by your
it.
phone or by the sun? That's why if you are not tumbled by it, but you're surfing on it, you're gonna feel the ride.
Yeah, because you can't go against the wave too easily. You might as well just enjoy. Bill Hicks. You like Bill Hicks? You're a Bill Hicks fan?
Yeah, I'm a Bill Hicks fan.
I'm a Bill Hicks fan too. But he'd end that one show. I forget what it was. He was like, "It's just a ride." It's like, I think once we figure this out, he's like, we could travel inner and outer space together forever. It's like, it's just a ride. And that's he's one of my favorite comedians. I always like that. It's very inspirational content, too. And then it kind of like helps sanctify the fact. Okay, well, fuck, right? If I forget the sun's hitting us, the food's getting us. It's just if it's endless attacks, it's like, okay, well, the best thing to do at this point is to enjoy it as much as possible, even if that's the case. But find balance and peace with it, right? Look, I'm going to show up with the cameras. I'll edit it. I'll post. I'm excited to do it. I'll share it. I'll tag your name in it too. You can spend less time, which will help take some of the screen time.
What are you talking about?
I want some of the screen time. Positive, negative ions, whatever. Give me the energy, all of it.
You want the positive ions?
Why not?
They'll give you bone cancer.
Look, my inevitable life contract was for death, right? And at least for this body. So what's the consequence? What's the worst consequence? I already signed up for the worst fucking consequence. How does it happen? It's like, well, I hope it happens while I'm enjoying the ride. I don't want to be I don't want to be having a good time on the ride and then it end. I want to be having a good time on the ride and then it ends. Because then I feel like I went out at least in somewhat of a, well, I want to enjoy that negative aspect, right? Like even if it's like I'll just wave coming at you one day, 250 feet tall. Who knows? Anything can happen, right?
Anything can fucking happen. I think a lot of people's worst fears is what they think that other people think of them, Well, at least that, as weird as I do what I do, I still have that unnecessary fear, and they're scared of, a lot of people are scared of enjoying the ride because we live on a planet that's not equal. There's other people around this world that are living in unnecessary pain. They don't need, starving and lack of water, lack of support from other countries, and it doesn't need to happen. Yes, enjoy the ride, but then in order to enjoy it, it's almost like someone could look at you and say, "You fucking asshole, you're not even being conscious of everybody else who is suffering." So that's in people's heads. That might be a good thing or a bad thing. There is no good or bad, but is that a knock on the door?
That was a gecko laughing.
There's a gecko laughing?
Yeah, the laughing gecko.
Oh, wow. I forgot my train of thought there.
No, that's okay. Let's double down, grab some water, hit the stop button, do it again.
Shit, what was
because that was around 18 minutes. No, that was beautiful.
But you enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. But take responsibility. Look, you got to have purpose and responsibility.
Yeah,
right? 'Cause it's more than just about enjoying the ride. I agree with you. If you're just trying to enjoy the ride, it's very superficial. The depth comes from, I think, real purpose, responsibility for one another. And
So maybe what I've been doing is really superficial.
No.
No, listen to me. I do on my street. I'm like, da, 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 da. It is superficial. I'm just interacting with people. And what eventually came to me doing was, like most people, when they watched me on the street, they would take their phones out. And I would just, I would just follow what the Zen teacher says, the imaginary Zen teacher says. Love it all. It's all the best. So I would perform in front of the social media. I did this with no judgment, and then I got a few viral videos, and then I got known, and so then I started to judge it again. And I already had strong judgment before I started doing it. People told me, don't give a shit about what people think of you. So I kept doing it. I kept saying, I don't give a shit. I'm doing this for a bigger purpose. I build up some stamina. Then I got known, right? But then I came back to where I first started. I started to give a shit. Like I wanted to be known as an artist. If I'm all about love and spreading love consciousness, I should be. I've heard comments that saying, if you're not preaching, if you're not becoming what you preach, you're gonna have a big backlash. So I started predicting this backlash happening to me. That you're not the love guy. You're another phony, another fake. Oh. So I imagine that judgment. I got scared again. You reach a level of success. This happens to anybody. You reach a level of success. You get known, and everybody's like patting you on the back. And then maybe you do something stupid or not so great, and then it's a backfire. Or the reason you got known for your success is because you spread something a beautiful message, but then you didn't do something so beautiful after. So I mean, you really got to live life, enjoy it, and then get used to fucking up and being a hypocrite, and then get up and live life again, because it's a lot worse to be stuck in your own shithole, feeling guilty, ashamed. Those are human emotions that shouldn't even happen. You should always be on the rise again. So, I'm dealing with I'm still dealing with, everybody deals with their own shit. I'm dealing with my shit. So when I got known for the video, I sold T-shirts with "Love is the answer," and then I felt like I sold only 500 of them, but then I felt like I mean that wasn't a lot compared to other internet stars or celebrities, but it was a lot for me. And then I started feeling like evil, like I was starting to feel like capitalism and selling merch in the name of love is not good. And I always start thinking of Jesus when they're selling stuff at the religious place, at a spiritual place, and he flips the money and he loses it. But I mean, he wasn't supposed to lose it. But everybody goes through that.
It was the money changers.
What?
It was the money changers whose table he flipped in the temple. It wasn't capitalists. It wasn't business people that were taking advantage of the fact that they were good at making fucking shoes and selling those shoes, Matthew. It was the fucking people that were in charge of the money. That's who Jesus shit. That's who he's table we kicked up in the temple. That's what you're thinking about. I forget what story that is.
Yeah.
It wasn't just capitalists. It was the people that were in charge of the money.
Oh yeah.
That's been a problem for a long time. I mean, that's why we're constantly chatting about Bitcoin and the blockchain space, is because if we can empower individuals through technology instead of these kind of the few groups of people that have been able to take advantage of their job, I'll say to some degree their intelligence and the gullibility of myself and others, like the rest of the human race. It's easy. There's so much shit going on, and we're like goddamn goldfish. No, I got no. Considering I'm Canadian, I don't have enough Terrence and McKenna fart jokes. I think I'd have more farts. I haven't lived in Canada for a long time. This is what it is, Matthew. I'm far separated from the Canadian style.
Yeah, you're more like a Costa Rican.
Nowadays, you're well versed. You know your kung fu.
Hey man,
be like
it's alpha and omega.
Be like fart.
Be like fart. Art, heart. F, right?
Fa, do, re, mi, fa.
Fa.
Do, re, mi, fa.
Fa. Heart chakra.
One of my Facebook friends said you're
Michael.
the modern day John the Baptist.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I've been told that many times. And then I got a rare opportunity to go to Paris. I went to that big art museum and I saw John the Baptist and he looked like me in a painting. If you Googled John the Baptist painting, he looks like me.
What's
or
the
I look
story?
like John the Baptist.
I don't know John Baptist's story.
Who knows, but I never read up on John the Baptist, but I know a lot of people tell me he was known for he's like, love, no, Jesus, this, Jesus. He was like a screamer.
He was a screamer.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're all related in some way. Is
Yeah.
that it?
So I'm more of a screamer, so maybe I'm like the continuation of John the Baptist, Fart the Baptist.
Fart the Baptist. That's.
I just knew to use farts, and we're evolving. We're evolving, and I think one thing that helps us evolve, and a guy who helped a lot of that is Robin Williams, is laughter. Laughter is the evolution of man and womankind, because the better your sense of humor, the more open you are to how stupid everything could be, and you could laugh about. You cannot. I mean, it's good to take things seriously and passionately, but to get things done. But when you're to the point where you're always like that, you're actually devolving yourself. You're in constant fear of things not working out. You're trying to control everything. You're so serious. Don't do that, because then, you have to be able to. That's the trickster, or is a mark of evolution. There's incredible comedians now, or like Bill Hicks. He's like he introduced the next age of comedians. The one guy that heavily inspired me, though, I thought was, and a lot of others, is Andy Kaufman.
Oh yeah, he did a fucking conga piece that's absolutely fantastic. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But the main reason I'm attracted, I love that conga piece, but the main reason I'm attracted to Andy Kaufman is because he is the first artist that he said, I'm not a comedian. And he's the first artist to be like a comedian, but he's not a comedian. And he messed with polarities. Do you know? People are like, is Andy Kaufman for real? He'd present himself, and then it was a trick. He wasn't that person. He was actually this evil motherfucker like Tony Clifton, or you know, but he'd present himself as this lovable character, the foreigner, and then he was, but you know, you didn't know if he was real or not. And then he would go up on a piece and he said, I'm screwing up. I'm having a mental breakdown. This, what I'm doing is terrible. It's terrible. Shit, I'm sorry. And anyway, it blew my mind and inspired me. Cause you know,
I think I've seen. I think I remember seeing the one you're talking about. It's at an improvisation club back in the 1970s or something, right? 80s, right?
Yeah, but a lot of people, they took him for granted. They didn't see him as he's actually expanding the consciousness of the entire planet. Because he did things that people didn't like. Like, he was messing with the reality of male and female. He would wrestle female wrestlers. But what he was saying is like, women, they should be in the kitchen. And he offended a lot of people. But he was doing it because it was a performance. He was the ultimate performer. Because you couldn't tell if he was for real or not for real. But he was having fun. And people got to lighten up, too.
Yeah, we're headed down a slippery slope in the space for social media. 1 second here, let me just adjust the mic, ladies and gentlemen. Because we started to censor somewhere along the way what was allowed behavior in communications. And communications is one of those really difficult aspects where you pretty much have to fucking allow everything. Because as soon as you start to censor one thing, it's a very, very slippery slope into censoring almost everything.
Right.
And
like you were saying, the InfoWars guy.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of Alex Jones, but I grew up, and Alex Jones is in that film Waking Life. You remember that film? You ever see Waking Life?
He was in Waking Life?
Yeah, he was the guy driving around the car screaming out of the microphone, with the microphones on the top of the car. The government is blah, blah. He's been doing that shit forever. And now you fucking when you deplatform someone like that, you further legitimize their claims and then prove, okay, well, now we're censoring people. The whack jobs can't just say whatever bullshit they want. It's like, okay, well, yeah, the idea that he said some nonsense about Sandy Hook and pissed some people off, it's like, yeah, okay, accept the repercussions of saying some dumb stuff, but we can't remove people from the platform to speak. That's censorship, and no matter which way you cut it, you got to let everybody say what they want to say. Mm-hmm. Because again, as soon as you move one person, everyone else is on the chopping block then. Because what discrepancies can you discriminate against, essentially? Or are you not allowed to discriminate against? Mm-hmm. Like in Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World, they said that at one point the species would become so homogenized that you wouldn't be allowed to deny anyone's sexual advances because it would be considered prejudice. It could be a hate crime. Wow. Right? Because this is a slippery slope down this fucking bullshit of legislation and what we can and cannot say, what's appropriate, and because you're trying to control people's thought, and it's really difficult because there's no real definition of what love is. We're talking about concepts that vastly outweigh just a four-letter word, right? There's a lot of depth in that shit. So it's so easy to, when in the written form of law or something like this, to totally obfuscate the ability to speak through censorship, which will, I think it'll never inevitably hit everyone. I'm worried. It's one of the reasons why I'm stoked for artists such as yourself. And that's one of the reasons why I stay out of most of the political thought processes, because I don't want to fucking think about it anymore. Like, there's better things to fucking think about half the time. Like, I love discovering random new ideas in physics or the fun shit, right? There's all this there's so many fun rabbit holes to fall down the internet. It's like, I don't want to fall down, but there's all these fucking, there's like, the world is falling apart. There's like, anyways, I think this So for me, the podcast format is new. I love that we get to sit down together and we're going to share this with everyone. Thank you all for joining, all the crazy people and weirdos and friends and family that enjoy watching. Matthew Silver, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very grateful to have you as a guest in my house.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I am grateful. I'm honored. Wait, are we? Is this an ending?
No. Look, I think so. The podcasts are always long form content.
Yeah.
And it's a push. We don't know if people. I don't know if people are going to watch. It's going to be an hour long. How many people you think are going to watch the whole hour? That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in just kind of the depth of the improvisational conversation. Like, I don't care where it goes. It's crazy as shit. I mean, you and I have been talking about everything from Donald Trump and to Bernie Sanders. There's so much going on that's extremely interesting in the I guess the media sphere, right? And we're a part of it. I think it's important to. If you're a part of the choir or the symphony, to when it's your part, like whatever your part is, when it's Matthew Silver, you be Matthew Silver, because that's what brings truth and critical thinking to the table. Mm-hmm. It requires even the crazy people that say stupid shit. They should be allowed to say that.
Right. That's the point here.
Even if it takes them a long time to say.
So a good thing to also say is that don't hold back. If you also, I mean, if you have the guy of InfoWars saying his shit, you should say your shit. You know, if Trump is saying his shit, you should. I don't know. You're telling me we should. Ideas are infinite, right?
Yeah.
So
they're complete.
But we always hold back. We're always a little careful. Like you said, you're a little careful about talking about politics or getting into certain things on your channel because But at the same time, we want that freedom to talk. Like one thing that I'd be scared of talking on my social media is sometimes I have the thought that, love all. So you should love Trump, or you should love Hitler, or the worst parts of the world, because they're a part, racists are a part of you. You should love racists, Yeah. They're here, they exist. They also exist within you. I mean, if you're aware of them, a good example is like when the Native Americans, they've never heard of the ship. The ship, they didn't see the ships coming closer when they first saw the ships coming closer to America, They didn't see the ships. But now, in our reality, racism exists and all these things exist. I'm just saying, everything that you have learned in the media sphere, it's all you. Because you've opened your mind to it. You've listened to television. And television likes to feed on you hating something and you liking something. But it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't hate or like. And you shouldn't see anything as wrong or anything as right. You should just be open to it all and be like God.
Right. Some of this stuff is old.
Take 100 steps back.
I think some of this is survival code too, right? Like the pattern recognition to discriminate about environments that are more dangerous or not, right? This is a deep pattern recognition. These are survival functions left over from the animal part of the body. Because I totally agree with you. From the philosophical level, yeah, we need to embrace the fact that the human species has these these dark sides, and we need to understand how they come up, right? Like, for instance, I mean, Hitler was a socialist. We should pay attention to history. We should see what happens when things go wrong and why they go wrong.
Well, Hitler wasn't a socialist.
Yeah, he was.
He was a Führer. He's a Führer.
It started off socialism.
Yeah, but Bernie Sanders is not the same thing as Hitler.
I never said he was.
Oh shit, we're going into something.
I never said he was. You said that. You just said that.
Yeah, but I remember when we talked about...
But we're not talking about it. We're talking now.
Should we talk about this now? Or?
We're talking about it now. Why? But my stance is not taking a position.
When I was talking to you on the beach.
I have not taken a position in this conversation.
Okay, so I should stop.
No, you can continue, but only you. But
well,
I never said anything about. I didn't say anything about Bernie Sanders though in this conversation. I said Hitler was a socialist.
Oh, I did. I brought up.
You brought up Bernie Sanders. I said nothing about Bernie Sanders here.
Okay.
Look, you have other countries that are socialism.
I'm not
as well,
saying anybody should be a socialist, though.
No, I'm not. All my speculation is that if we're going to love it, we need to accept it, and to accept it, we need to understand it, and that's like it's a process, right? You got to go through these different stages of like grief and denial and like comprehension and then forgiveness. And,
okay.
Like and growth again.
Yes.
There's a cycle of formats of. Because that shit's heavy.
That's a good point.
These are heavy moments. The human species has been killing each other for a long time. It doesn't matter what
killing each other,
skin color.
We've been lying to each other. We lie to each other.
All of the dumb things.
We're crooked to each other.
Why? Do you know?
But this, you know.
We all ate cat piss.
But we all hate cat piss. But the idea of love is actually, I mean, it's innate, but to bring it on a bigger scale, it's kind of new, you know. We say this is the game that we're playing. A lot of people would say that the game, what it is, it's all these fights. It's all part of it, you know. Love it all, but it's all coming to. We are all one, love. That's
yeah.
I mean, that's one.
Well, you experience. I mean, you can definitely experience that too, right?
You can experience it.
That
now.
It exists. It's not even something that you would. I think the Buddha, like the Buddhists and a lot of these religions talk about it like this too, right? That it's not. It's not like it's something that you become. It's something that is. And if you can tap into what is, then there's this vast wealth of experience and richness of wisdom, because it encompasses all of those different cycles of understanding, of all those different stages of process through all of us, as consciousness, right? As the whole thing is likely consciousness. So, we're like processing that data, but the information, I think, so the prejudice at the body level is because it's part of the survival of the body. It's part of the animal body. It's like a totally different world. That's what they call the beast world, right? And then you have the higher spiritual world of the physical realm, which, you know, the creativity, love, your spiritual eye, your third eye, and your crown. The repetition of these cycles infinitely beyond comprehension, and you can achieve those states of consciousness through, you know, meditation. People get it through near-death experiences, taking large doses of psychedelic plants, and the majority of the population still is not kicking any of those things down the line, right? Like, so you talk about like a global fart.
Awakening.
A fart awakening.
A global love fart awakening.
Love fart awakening.
Yeah.
Is the fart full of fucking DMT? I could see because I can imagine this chemical fart.
Actually, I'm not not against people taking it, but I think the awakening would have nothing to do with. I mean, psychedelics or whatever, they're only here to hint, because they're not they're not 100% real. You're not tripping out balls, you know, all the time. You have to go back to this, and you can actually experience this at a higher state of consciousness. You know, you don't have to take acid to do that. It's just, you know, it's a gift from the planet. But I don't think, I mean, that's my opinion. I don't think it was meant to be taken all the time. I think we could experience this unity if the majority of us on this planet were at a higher level of oneness, of consciousness. At a, do you know what I'm saying? A mass bubble of people, not just
for me, the plant's like
saying it
technology.
and going to workshops and going to festivals and saying we're enlightened, but also they're doing the
heavy lifting.
The heavy lifting. There's got to be some heavy lifting. We want love consciousness, but it's not. None of it is a magic pill. And in order to, the whole reason love has came to us is because the whole planet, I mean, has gone through a shitload of pain. So there's a realization. There's a big realization that, well, maybe we don't have to do it this way. This way of war, or, you know, I mean, that is a way, but there's infinite ways in the way of love, you know, just like there's infinite ways in the way of war and pain. I think I'm making a point, but maybe not. But
no, the global fart awakening.
Global fart awakening.
There's for me, I've always thought of
it would be something like this.
DMT is like a technology.
A technology?
Yeah, in my mind, DMT is like a technology. It's like a communications travel technology. Bunch of people need to take some fucking trips, man. We need to send them around the world and back. Look, it's always good to take a trip.
Yeah, but some people have experienced the trip without the DMT.
I don't give a fuck. It just doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You said, here's my arguing standpoint for this idea too, for fun. You said, well, it's not real. It's like, well, what the fuck's real? It's the same thing. Your brain is nothing but a chemical, like, antenna. What's the difference?
That's the difference.
It's got to be the same thing. People see the exact same things. Whether it's induced...
You're right. Whether it's... Go ahead.
Whether it's induced or whether we, like, acquire that as a skill set, I don't think it makes any difference. I think it's the same thing.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're also wrong at the same time.
Well, that's the fun of it.
But you're right. You're right. I mean, it's the. I mean, if it still gets us there, it's still the same thing.
So we don't need to lace. We know laced fart awakening it doesn't require that. I agree with you. Not required.
Okay, the
outside substance not required. And I agree. None of this is medical advice, ladies and gentlemen. Please check with your local doctor before you take any plants, medicines. You don't just eat shit from the ground, kids. It's not smart. 5-second rule. Wait. So the point of the comment there, is yeah. I mean, I agree. I don't want to I don't advocate anyone take anything particular. I've had pleasant experiences. It doesn't always happen that way. You can have all sorts of problems in family history. I'm not trying to. You're right. Maybe if I was part of the Fart Awakening planning committee, everyone would look at me and be like, "Dude, you're gonna like give all these drugs to kids? It's like, are they even old enough to take the drugs yet?"
Well, you know,
the Fart Awakening should include everybody.
Well, okay.
Trying to lace the fart with drugs now?
No, the fart should just be a fart. That's it. Keep it simple. Stupid. Kiss. Kiss.
It's a kiss fart.
It's a love fart.
Love fart.
it's a metaphor. It's not like a fart coming out of your butthole. It's a metaphorical cosmic fart. It's like the God's joke.
I could see it like in the meme. It would be like two butt cheeks farting love particles.
But see, the fart basically is, it's a metaphor for the awakening to realize what's within. You know?
Butt is the sun.
What?
The butt is like the sun. That's the butthole is the sun.
The butthole's the sun.
Yeah. And the sun's farting out love.
Love.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting late. I'm sure we could probably do some pretty long podcasts. Because I know we banter. I think it's probably better during the day, and I should probably just start smoking. I don't know how they do it. You definitely can't. You can't edit this shit. Like the only way you could do a 2.5, 3 hour live would be if it was live.
Right.
Because if you had to cut that up 2 or 3 hours, I'd feel like an idiot.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work.
No, we were both good at improvising. Well, Matthew, Bear family, it's been a pleasure.
I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna smoke a little bit of this, but I'm gonna ask you to leave us with some of the wisdom that I know you like to share. So I'm not even gonna ask you a question. I'm just gonna let you give us where you feel an answer you want to share.
Well,
it's a lot of, you can go anywhere with this. It's a great question, right? It's a hell of a question.
We have to come to a point where we don't feel like a lonely hero anymore, because the truth is we're in it together. I mean, it's more connected than you could ever dream of. So we gotta raise our consciousness and be more aware that whatever you do is actually, I mean, you're sending out these videos, and this is gonna affect an audience. So all of what we're doing is important. Wake up within. Wake up within. Wake up inside. Your insides with a big juicy fart. You didn't make your dog a steak?
Ladies and gentlemen, Bear family, Matthew Silver. It's been a fucking wild ride. I love these podcasts. It really gives me the opportunity to try to jump around all angles. We even said names like Bernie Sanders and words like socialism, which stuff, you're right, I do normally...
Hitler was a socialist.
And we love him for it, is a quote by Matthew Silver.
Love everyone.
Love everyone.
Love it all. Love the good.
Love the good.
Love the butterflies.
Love the butterflies.
Love the flowers. And love the shit.
Love the shit and
love
the
the beets. Love the pigs. Love the Hitler. Love the war. Love the poor people that are being slaughtered in front of our faces. Love it and let it make you angry and say this shouldn't happen, and love that you don't like it.